Before it was decided that Godzilla Vs Destoroyah would be the final film of the Heisei era, many other story proposals with interesting concepts were considered. And even though the film is 27 years old, we're still learning of drafts and ideas that we're hoping to be the follow-up to Godzilla vs SpaceGodzilla. So for today, I want to focus on one of the more recently rediscovered ideas with Godzilla Great Naval Battle, a project that would have featured Godzilla, 3 new sea monsters, and a new aquatic version of MechaGodzilla. In 1994, in preparation for the next film, a proposal tournament was held for Koichi Kawakida's assistant directors to see who could come up with the best idea for the follow-up to Godzilla vs SpaceGodzilla. Yosuke, or Yo Nakano, was the author of 3 of these proposals, including today's feature, and I have to admit, of all of the unused ideas and drafts for this late period of the era that I've looked at so far, this one stands out to me due to its scale and its locations. To begin with, Great Naval Battle would have featured 3 new sea monsters. Now unfortunately we don't have any concept art of the new kaiju or even their names, but Yo said they were to be based on rare sea creatures like ammonites and sea scorpions, causing my mind to immediately think of the kaiju from 1970's Space Amoeba, Ghidorah, Ganymedes, and Kamebis. Now like this era's Godzilla, these new monsters would also have his need to consume radiation, causing them to seek out Godzilla as the ultimate power source. Just like the legendary universe, where titans seek out radiation and can even eat each other as a source of it. The story was likely influenced by real-world events of the day, like the Gulf War and the fears of nuclear terrorism that followed it. There was a heightened sense of worry back then that terrorist groups would be able to gain access to smaller nuclear weapons, or suitcase nukes, that were harder to track and could be transported and used easier than their larger counterparts. This could be what Mr. Nakano is talking about when he mentions limited nuclear weapons, or maybe it's just that the nuclear strikes were smaller and contained to 1 or only a few targets. I bring this up because Godzilla Great Naval Battle would start off with Godzilla as he approaches the Middle East, drawn in by the abuse of limited nuclear weapons usage, in what are labeled as conflict zones. Now it would appear to me that the majority of the conflict zones are in the Middle East, which is why Godzilla is heading there in the first place. Yet there must have been nukes that were set off elsewhere, as we learn of 3 new kaiju appearing in other countries that are said to have been created by the nuclear weapons used in the various conflict zones. In order to stop the destruction that all 4 monsters would create, G-Force and the JSDF will deploy their newest and greatest weapons, including a new serpent-like aquatic MechaGodzilla, built specifically for underwater warfare, making me picture some kind of robot or mech version of Manda. It's also likely that we'd see the Gotengo or other craft like the ones featured in Godzilla Final Wars. Mr. Nakano would note that the primary objective was to write a story that took full advantage of the sea, all the way up to the story's climax. Such a film with all the monsters and set locations, including these large water battles, would have been an enormous undertaking, requiring a huge budget. In fact, even Yo thought that the proposal would be too costly to put to film, telling Toho Kingdom, "This movie costs too much." And that is it for Godzilla Great Naval Battle. What are your thoughts on this concept? To me, locations outside of Japan are always a bonus, and the possible inclusion of real-world events like the Gulf War could have been interesting. The 3 new sea monsters would have been a nice addition to Toho's roster, and an aquatic version of Mecha G is something that I'd love to see on film. I want to give out a special thanks to Toho Kingdom for their information on these unused projects and for publishing translations of important Japanese works like the Godzilla vs Destoroyah Perfection book. Next up, we'll take a look at Mr. Nakano's 2 other proposals with Godzilla vs Cyber City and the Terror of SpaceGodzilla. Thanks for watching, guys. Your likes, shares, comments, and subscriptions go a long way towards helping the channel grow. Take care, and I hope to see you next time.